No, it was a very nice Valentine's Day, Susie, baby. You surprised me with a nice dinner, and it was a very nice evening. No, I was talking to Jordan about that too. He said that he didn't go out, but it's like his anniversary today, the 15th. They celebrate their anniversary on the 15th. So he kind of gets out of going out for dinner on Valentine's Day too. Yeah. No, we're going to do the random share giveaway. I'll announce on the page tomorrow. Get people to go over to the Vintage Motocross Q&A page, and we'll announce it there. And that's really it. Yeah, that'll be it. So, where's Gino? In makeup? Just have him out here on time at the for the end of the show. Okay? All right. I love you too.
You're live.
Let's get down to the starting line. I'll tell you about what you're going to see on tonight's episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. And the next time, try this segment, we talk a little bit about reed valve maintenance in the Moto Showcase. We've got a beautiful Suzuki RM 250D. Looking forward to bringing you that. We've got some Here's the Problem questions about pistons and some handlebar questions. We'll be addressing those as well. What's it worth? We've got a trailer this week, a 1974 Honda CR250. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm Joe Abate. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, for helping me put the show together. Don't forget, keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please comment Motion Pro. And if you're on Facebook, just keep sharing the show. Tell your friends to come down and join us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. We will have a random share giveaway winner a little bit later on in the show. They'll get a sticker sheet just like this, compliments of VINTCO. We will announce the winner, though, on our Vintage Motocross Q&A page tomorrow. That will be on Thursday. But keep sharing the show. We have a winner every week. Our YouTube channel is going really well. You can see all of our interviews, all of our past shows. Please join us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free, it's fast, and it's fun. And when you do that, you get a little alert just like this. It tells you when we're live on YouTube. A great way to watch the show. How are the experts watching it? They're watching it from their big screen TV while they comment through their phone. So you sit back, watch it on your 52-inch TV or whatever size television that you might have. Comment from your phone. It's a great way to enjoy Vintage Motocross Q&A. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, Motion Pro, VINTCO, Preston Petty Products, Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, and Full Circle Racing. And the next time, try this segment. Today, we take a look at something that you might overlook until you get your top end off, and then at that point, you can address it. But your reed valve. Very, very interesting little unit, the reed valve. A lot of times people will change the reed pedals. They get weak after years of opening and closing. But even before that, sometimes a bike may be sitting for a while, and there are stops that are on that reed valve cage. And you can see them right there. The stops look rusty. They can get rusty over sitting for a period of time. And it's something that if you're maybe going to fire up a bike that hasn't been ridden in quite some time, you might want to take it off and check those stops to see if they're rusty. You wouldn't want some big flakes of rust or anything getting down in there in your cylinder to cause any further damage, or maybe any damage at all if there hasn't been any done. So you always want to check that. In the next picture, we'll look at how a reed valve should really, really look. They're nice and clean. The stops are absolutely mint and perfect. And you've got those 4 little screws up there. Actually, there's 8. There's 4 on that side. There's 4 on the other. Some only have 2. Some have 4. you want to make sure that if you change those pedals, those reed pedals, you want to make sure that you use a good screwdriver to get those things out. You don't want to strip them. They're very small and they can be very difficult to get out. Also, when you put them back in, because they are so tiny, a lot of times you can't get a good bite on them with a screwdriver. You might want to put a little Loctite on those screws when you put them back in. So replace the pedals, make sure you got a good set in there. Check the stops, make sure they're not rusty, and pay careful attention to the screws. When you're taking them out, if you strip them, replace them. If they're in good condition, make sure they're clean, put them back in with a little bit of Loctite, because there is a gap around that reed block where it sits in your engine. If one of those things come loose, guaranteed your top end will be history in that bike. Pay attention to that. Next time you got that top end off, make sure everything is in order. Next time, try that. In the Moto Showcase tonight, we take a look at a 1983 Suzuki RM250D. This bike was sent in to us by Mark Ackerman, but I want to also thank his brother, George Ackerman, for being a good friend, a big supporter of the show. And yeah, George helped us out a little bit when I asked for a bike for the Moto Showcase tonight. He said, I'll get my brother Mark to send one in. So Jordan's going to go through the slides while I read to you all about Mark's 250D. Joe, this is Mark Ackerman. My brother George wanted me to send you this information on this build of the Suzuki RM250D. It is in his Moto barn. The bike was a build, not a total restoration, from a roller and several boxes of parts. Someone had taken it apart and lost interest. All the parts were there. Some were in terrible shape. It was given to me by my buddy Tom, who gave it to me to rebuild it. The shock was rebuilt by Thor Lawson. The bottom end of the motor was actually in fine condition. The top end was rebuilt, and it has all VINTCO parts in it. Every bolt and nut was addressed on the bike. It was polished. It was refinished. New plastics were purchased for it as well. I spent hours sanding and polishing the plastic tank. I'm sure you know the drill on that. I don't really know the complete drill on polishing a plastic tank. I've been down the road a few times on it, but I know it takes a lot of effort. Anyway, new decals were purchased, minus the 250 for the side plates. I'm still looking for those. The pipe had a significant dent in the side, and I contacted you about that. You were able to help me, and I did get that addressed. I was able to fix the pipe. And I also eventually I found an NOS silencer for it as well. The bike has no fluid in it. It is sitting in the Moto barn. However, it is ready for motocross duties should it need to be called out. It's race ready. Let me know if you need any other information. No, Mark, I don't need any other information. That's a great bike. Thank you. And George Ackerman for sending it in. If you guys send me your mailing address, I'll get you a nice mug, compliments of Preston Petty products and Vintage Motocross Q&A, or some stickers or some grips or whatever you might like. Mark Ackerman, thanks so much for sending us in that beautiful Suzuki. Preston Petty products. They got a great little special going on this week. They got three sets of GP grips for just $46.95. The regular price is $54.95. 3 sets of grips, $46.95. Paul Standard is still looking for dealers for Preston Petty products. If you have a retail outlet or however you sell retail products, get a hold of Paul Standard at PrestonPetty.com. He'll make you a dealer. Thank you, Paul and Patty, for all you do for us here at the show. In our Here's the problem segment tonight, we take a look at some of the questions that you have sent in. We've got one on handlebars. We've got one on pistons. Louis up in New York says, on cast or forged pistons, is there a clearance? Is the clearance measured the same? And what Louis is talking about is the clearance when you bore or hone a cylinder. Is it the same? No, it is not the same. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about, let's make sure you know the difference between a cast piston and a forged piston. In this picture here, the VINTCO piston is cast. You can see it has a little bit of a rough finish on top. Not too rough, but you can see that it is not a machined perfect finish. The other one that is available from VINTCO, they are forged, and it is a much cleaner look, a much cleaner piston. A forged piston will be a little bit heavier than a cast piston. A cast piston will expand about half as much as a forged piston, and they are a little bit lighter as well. So in your vintage bikes, a lot of guys do prefer to run cast pistons, and your tolerance will be, as I said, the cast expands about half as much. So if I think on VINTCO or on the VINTCO product, they recommend 4 to 6 thousandths. I think VINTCO has 6 thousandths. You may only have to go 3 thousandths on the cast piston. Here is a look at what a forged piston looks like in a cast piston as far as molecular structure goes. Now, without getting too scientific and getting into things that some of us may not understand, and I may not be I may not be easy for me to explain. The molecular structure of a cast piston is a little bit different. It's cast. It is liquid aluminum when it is cast, when it is poured into a mold. Now, those molecules in there, they've already been heated up. They already know where they want to go. So it's a little bit easier for them to move around. On your forged piston, not so much. You will get a tighter tolerance, but it is heavier. It is more durable. But make sure you know, Louis, what piston you're looking at before you decide on the clearance. No, the clearances are not the same. So if you should decide you're going to use a cast piston, then you're going to replace it with a forged. You might want to check back either with me or with Weisco or whoever's piston the piston manufacturer was, to make sure you know exactly what you're doing. But there is a difference. Look closely at them before you make that decision. I appreciate the question, Louis. Thanks so much. What we got next? Jim Landon, can you direct me on where to find stock-looking bars for a 1973 Honda XR75? I can. Get a hold of me. I'll give you the number of a guy named Jim Lusick. He was able to help me out with some handlebars that I needed for a Harley 100 Baja, like I restored, I guess it's about 6 or 8 months ago now. Anyway, when I couldn't find handlebars for that bike and I couldn't find them anywhere, he told me that he makes a replica of an XR75 bar. He sent me those. They were exceptionally close to the Harley Davidson Baja bars, but he does make the XR75 replica bar. Get a hold of me. I'll give you Jim Lusick's information. Thanks for the question, Jim. Motion Pro. Got a special going on every week, 20% off across the board on everything to Vintage Motocross Q&A viewers. This week's code is MP, as in Motion Pro 6888. That's MP 6888. That is good through February 21st. When you go over to Motion Pro and you check out, put in that code, MP 6888, you'll get 20% off. Pretty good deal. The more you spend, the more you save at Motion Pro.
Hi, I'm Tommy Croft, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abadi. We'll be right back with my dear friend Joe. Oh, Gary Trapper.
Hi, I'm Sean Gager. We're here with Altus Motorsports. I'm Kevin Almeido's mechanic, bike number 16. We wanted to kind of show off the Motion Pro wrenches and all kinds of different tools that Motion Pro makes. You know, getting the job done, saving time is crucial, especially, you know, at qualifying, for trying to do a clutch change or anything like that. These speed wrenches are absolutely great to have. They make our lives absolutely way easier. Every single mechanic on the crew has many, many things in their toolbox, and we are very, very happy to have them on board.
In the What's It Worth segment tonight, we take a look at a bike that recently sold on Bring a Trailer, BAT, Bring a Trailer. I don't know if a lot of you guys are familiar with that site, but it is called Bring a Trailer, and they do keep pretty good records of when a bike is sold, who bought it, how much it sold for. It's pretty reliable. And a lot of guys I know are buying, well, not a lot of guys, but some guys I know are buying and selling bikes on there. This is, of course, a segment of the show where I encourage you, the viewers at home, to guess how much this bike recently sold for. Now, the description of this bike was a little generic, I would say, so I'm not so sure about the seller's background of the bike, but Jordan will go through the slides and I'll tell you what the seller had to say. The 1974 CR125M Elsinore has a 250cc two-stroke engine paired with a 5-speed transmission. It's finished in silver and green. Equipment includes a low-swept pipe. It's got an 18-inch wheel in the back, 21-inch wheel in the front. Now, look, I'm not going to bore you with all of the gory details that this person has put into this advertisement, because they don't really tell you a whole lot about it. So whether it was an estate sale or somebody got a motorcycle that they weren't too sure about what it was, that's all they put. Now, from my point of view, the bike was restored. The hardware was not done, but everything else looked really, really nice on the bike. The back tire seemed like a pretty low-profile tire, giving the bike the appearance of a little bit of a longer travel. But all in all, this bike seemed to be in very, very nice condition. The tank was polished. It was nice, as you could see in this picture. The shocks, the rims, everything looked nice. The green's a little bit of a shade off, but I don't want to nitpick. Look inside the airbox. Everything looks really, really nice in there. And just overall, A really, really nice 1974 CR250M. What do you think this bike sold for in Georgia on February 7th? 11,000? 12,000. I thought the bike would have gone for about 12,500, 13,000. I thought it was really, really that nice. This bike sold for $9,627. $9,627. I thought that was a screaming deal. I know people personally who are paying well over $9,600 just to have a bike restored. They own the bike. They send it out for restoration. They're paying well over $9,600. So I thought it was a great deal down in Georgia. 9627. That segment, of course, is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. Thank you, Tom McAllister, for all you do for us here at the show. Tom's still running that great special on powder coating your hubs. Just $50 a hub. For $10 more, he will do the backing plate as well. That is for satin and gloss black. For a few bucks more, he'll make them any color you want. Thank you, Tom McAllister. For all your wheel needs, nipples, spokes, lacing, and trim, be sure to see Tom McAllister. Still got a great special going on for the backing plates for the CZ, just $179. If you don't want the logo, $169. Full Circle Racing. Did you know? This is a segment that was sent to us by, you know what? I'm going to do it real professionally. The Did You Know segment is brought to you by Jeff Kokoski. Jeff Kokoski is the producer on this segment tonight. And Jeff brought us some very, very interesting information on Steve McQueen and how he was involved in the 1964 International Six-Day Trials. So, Jeff has written the following. Steve McQueen was instrumental in organizing and financing and participating in the first full U.S. team competing in the International Six-Day Trials held in Erfurt, East Germany. I did not know that, Jeff. Our story starts a couple of years earlier in the fall of 1962 when, during a break of filming of The Great Escape in southern Bavaria, McQueen and his longtime motorcycle buddy and pal Bud Eakins, best known as McQueen's stunt double in that barbed wire jump in The Great Escape, drove to Highland Green Mustang in Bullet, visited the International Six-Day Trial that was held in nearby Garmisch-Partenkirchen, that was in Germany, in West Germany. Although McQueen was known as a desert and scrambles guy, and some motocross too, he must have really been bitten by the enduro bug, and no doubt about it, because him and Eakins, they were no stranger to that type of off-road riding, and this is why they got involved in the International Six-Day event. In 64, the Six-Day team was assembled for the main USA base team, and it was McQueen, Bud Eakins, Bud equally famous off-road racer and older brother Dave, and Cliff Coleman. John Steen was also recruited as an alternate. All of those guys were members of the Southern California Rams Motorcycle Club. Supposedly, off-road legend John Pettin was supposed to ride on that team too, but eventually went on to ride for Team Canada during a different event. At that time, McQueen was a huge star in Europe and, of course, in America as well, because of his Wanted, Dead or Alive, TV Western, and movies like The Magnificent Seven, and the recent release of The Great Escape. At the beginning of 1964, the highly acclaimed movie Love with a Proper Stranger, starring McQueen and Natalie Wood, was to be released in the USA, and that was to premiere in the fall in Paris. Conveniently, about the same time as the International Six-Day Trial was to finish. According to an account by Dave Eakins, it was written in 2011, McQueen passed off his International Six-Day Trial teammates as bodyguards that were going to accompany him to Paris for the grand opening for that movie. He basically got Paramount Pictures to pay and finance for a significant portion of that International Six-Day Trials event. All 5 members of that team were huge Triumph fans. They rode in modified versions of that bike in desert races. The plan was for the team to ride 650 TR6s, 500 TR5 Triumphs, and McQueen made arrangements to actually pick up brand new bikes from Triumph at the factory in Coventry, England. According to Dave Eakins' account, the bikes were then loaded in a box van, driven to the coast, then shipped across the English Channel to France, where the team would meet up with the other team and follow them in a van through France and then West Germany into East Germany. Because of Steve McQueen's celebrity status, the East German border guard detained them until they got permission from Berlin to allow McQueen in the country. While they were stopped at the border, they ran into 2 up-and-coming Belgian riders, Joe Robert and Roger de Coster, and they were also on their way to the International Six-Day Trials. Bud was able to converse with the 2 in French, and they invited them to stay at their house in California if they ever made it to America. Ironically, 3 years later, they would do just that with Edson Dye, bringing them European stars to America for the Inter Am Series. Incredible how these paths have crossed and how history was made. So there you have it. Steve McQueen pretty much got Paramount Pictures to pay for an international 6-day trial event. He had bikes delivered from Coventry, and it's just a great story. So throughout the 60s and 70s, McQueen did achieve, legendary status throughout the world because of the characters that he portrayed in the movies. And the fact that he was more at home hanging with his motorcycle buddies just makes it more interesting, and certainly proves that Steve McQueen was the king of cool. Jeff Kokoski, thanks so much for putting all that together for us, including the pictures and the content. Thank you, Jeff Kokoski. And I didn't know that about Steve McQueen and the international 6-day trials. Now we all know. Thank you, Jeffrey. We are going to take a commercial break. Don't forget, keep sharing the show. We'll be back in just a minute with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
VINTCO, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with VINTCO rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The VINTCO air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit VINTCO.com to check out the air shocks and all that VINTCO has to offer to help you get back on track and to keep that ride going.
Hey, Jordan, before we go to this week in MX history, could you go to full screen for a minute? I had something very interesting happen to me today, and I wanted to share it with the viewers at home. This is a 1979 Honda Elsinore tank that I've been working on. I got it all straightened out, got all the dents out of it. And this is what the tank looks like on the bottom. Okay, you sure got a good view of that. In the mail today, somebody sent me a tank and that they thought I could fix. Look at the bottom of this tank. Do you see that? This is what happens when you put air in a tank. Somebody took it off the bike. I could tell because I've never seen one pinched so close together before. But yeah, they put air in the tank and it only had a couple of dents in it too. It wasn't too bad. But due to someone trying to repair it by using air, they've pinched that thing. Well, they pinched that thing so close it'll never fit over a frame again. Air is for breathing. Ice is for your cocktails. Do not put air in your tanks. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a problem like that. This week in Motocross history, brought to you by Racer X magazine. Don't forget, they're on your newsstand and online now. Racer X. Get a copy today. Makes a great gift, too. Susie, I'll be calling you in just a moment to get the dog in here. I just had a little public service announcement I had to make. Anyway, 1979, ring that bell. Team Yamaha's Mike Bell won the first night of the Seattle Supercross doubleheader at the Kingdome. Suzuki's Daniel Laporte. Honda's Warren Reed finished second and third. Career best for each in an AMA Supercross. Interesting. Career best for Laporte and Reed in a Supercross. Defending series champion Bob Hanna finished fourth. He was about to begin asserting himself on his way to a third straight title, but that night, Mike Bell could not be stopped in 1979. 1981, Shoe Ain't Scared. It's 1 for Schultz and 3 for Suzuki. Darrell Schultz won the second night of the Seattle Kingdome doubleheader, giving him the weekend sweep. Schultz was also atop an all-Suzuki podium as his factory Suzuki teammates Mark Barnett and Kent Howerton finished second and third. All told, 1981 was the best year ever for Suzuki in AMA Supercross, as the trio of Barnett, Schultz, and Howerton were 10 out of 12 rounds aboard Suzuki's, and Barnett claimed the title that year. Let's move on to 1992. Bit of a sad note. We celebrate, well, we don't celebrate. We remember this week the late Al Baker, who back in 1992 passed away. Entrepreneur Al Baker founded Al Baker's XR Only. He passed away at the age of 41. That was back in 1992. Baker was an off-road enthusiast and motocrosser, and he was in a vegetative state for almost 3 years after crashing a light aircraft while flying over Arizona. Baker was known for his work alongside Honda and for helping discover a young star named Johnny O'Mara. He was helping Hero Honda at the time, Al Baker was, and the son of Honda founder Soichiro Honda with his Mugen Honda project. And when they were looking for a rider, it was Al Baker who pointed to this local hot shoe down in Southern California named Johnny O'Mara. And together they would stun the world and win the 1980 Valvoline 125cc US Grand Prix. And yeah, we remember Al Baker on this day. Al Baker, so instrumental in so many things. A test rider for Dirt Bike Magazine, XRs only. He was very, very competitive in motocross, desert racing too. Don't quote me on this, but I think a winner of the Baja 500, maybe the Baja 5000. Al Baker, gone too soon. And that was it for this week in motocross history. We're going to get on with the announcement, which is, of course, brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. It's getting here, just about 6 months away. The Can-Am 50th anniversary festival. This is happening August 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's coming up this summer in beautiful Ontario, Canada. And the location has been moved. It's now in Gopher Dunes. It's about 2 hours closer to the U.S. border than it was before, but it is going to be fabulous. And there's going to be everything there that ever had to do with Can-Am and their racing effort. And not only in motocross, but in road racing and anything else that they had to do with. There's going to be designers there, racers, riders. I assure you there will be every model of Can-Am there. There's also going to be a raffle. We're going to be giving away some raffle tickets here on the show in the not too distant future. John Lake has promised us those. So I will, of course, not be eligible to be in the raffle, but you will be, and you will get a raffle ticket, compliments of John Lake, Can-Am, Bombardier, and Vintage Motocross Q&A. But some of the most exciting announcements have been some of the riders that will appear there. We have confirmed Gary Jones will be there. Marty Tripes will be there. A lot of other guys who had a lot to do with Can-Am. But probably the most synonymous name with Can-Am, such a successful rider, a favorite of so many people, Jimmy Ellis. Jimmy Ellis is now confirmed. He will be there. Jimmy Ellis, the Cobalt Comet, will be at the 50th celebration of Can-Am. Coming up in August. Get your passport ready. Figure out a way to get your bike over the border. I want to welcome a new sponsor to the show, Replica Motorcycle Parts, replicamotorcycleparts.com. They have some great products that are already out there. They have a great website. And Paul Parkinson, I met him at York back in January. He showed me what he's making. This is just one product that I guaranteed everybody who is either racing on 1974 CR125 or restoring one is probably going to need, because they're getting very, very difficult to find. It's, of course, that air filter cage. It is 3D printed. It is absolutely a beautiful dead-on replica, very sturdy, very durable. And he's got them for sale on his website right now. I think they're about $150, but he's got so many other products too. Get over to replicamotorcycleparts.com now. You will hear more in the coming months. March 1st, the first show we have in March, will be featuring some products from Paul Parkinson and replicamotorcycleparts.com. Their website's up. Check them out on Facebook too. Thanks, Paul. Finish Line is brought to you tonight by just me. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts and hoodies are still available, just $19.99. Follow the link in the description of the show, or the description in the show link. You know what I mean. I've been talking about this for a while. Hoodies are available too. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities. Paul Parkinson took advantage of it. He is really looking forward to being on board with us, and I'm looking forward to having him on as well. So if you want to be a Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsor, get a hold of me. I'll get you a package, and you'll be seeing the same results. Motion Pro, VINTCO, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle, and everybody else. I want to give a special thanks this week again to Sunrise Vapor Blasting. I sent them a bunch of stuff. They came back absolutely beautiful. Get a hold of Sunrise Vapor Blasting. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook as well. Thank you, Mark Ferriester. I think that about wraps it up for this week's episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. I am Joe Abadi, and yeah, thanks for watching the show. Hey, Gino! Hope you have a nice Valentine's Day as well. Thanks, Jordan, and everybody who watched the show tonight. Gino! Hey, don't forget Oakland Supercross this weekend, too. We'll see you next time. And if you get down to Oakland, stop by the Ladies' World Fair. We'll see you there.